It's great to be back here again, folks. It's Thursday, and what a great week. Weather's fabulous. I love the summers and just the long days. Rates are still very low. We're offering you rates in the 4s and even in the 3s if you're looking to refinance your current mortgage, purchase a property, or even a commercial property. We're lending in over 37 states. Carol, it's so great to see you this morning. How are you?
I'm well. I love having you in the studio. It's a lot more fun than just having to talk over the phone from so far away. We talked this week already about, getting some conversations going with potential spouse material.
Right.
Not that you have to do that on the first date, but if you're considering getting married, then maybe you should talk about money a little bit. We know you know that at home. Tell me, though, some more about credit cards. Have people stopped using them as much as they used to before everything went funky with the banks?
Well, the funny thing is that the way the numbers are right now, there seems to be a decrease in the usage of credit cards. However, what's also happened with the economy is that a lot of folks stop paying the credit cards. So
really?
what the credit card companies do is they write them off literally as bad debts.
Huh.
So
at what point would they write you off? Like how
well,
many
as soon as it goes
thousands
into
in?
when it goes into the collection agency, when you're not getting a payment and you're no longer receiving payments from the person who has the credit card, it goes into sort of the collection agency, and therefore it's a loss. So when you're looking at the numbers, the percentages can be skewed because it looks as if there aren't that many people using, but they've just stopped paying.
I see. Okay.
And it's very difficult because, and I don't want you to feel bad about this, folks, because we've all done it at some point where we are. I was in my 20s when I was sort of up against the wall after college. Had a grand old time with getting 3 credit cards, and I had no job. And Dad, what am I going to do? He's like, you're going to work. You're going to pay those suckers off.
Come back when you're debt free.
Right. So this is what I say to folks. This has happened to at least 80% of Americans. I don't know about the other 20% perfect folks out there. I'm not counting myself with that group. But here's what happens. I mean, you are kind of brought into this vicious cycle where you have rates that are at 18%, 20%, and what starts happening is you're making minimum payments. You're just trying to make the minimum payments and keep your head above water. But if you miss even one minimum payment, then your $10,000 credit card, which most folks have, the minimum payment is like $400. So you have to pay $800, and that's not even bringing down the balance.
Nope.
That becomes like a living nightmare.
Yeah.
So what I say to folks is, look at what your current debt is. Look at where your mortgage is. And if you can't really have an idea of where your savings would be, if you can actually refinance your mortgage, if there's equity in the property, if you haven't been late on the mortgage, if you've been working or you've been employed for at least the last year or so, you can call us. And if, for example, you have been late on the mortgage or if you have declared bankruptcy, still call me. I can still give you advice. I have great joy in being able to share information and rebuild your future and not have you sort of sit there and kind of be in the corner and say there is no way out of this.
Yeah, the hopelessness. You feel like it's all against you sometimes monetarily just because you don't have the information. It seems like the people with money have all the information.
Right.
And you're the one who owes them, and you don't have a clue where to start.
Exactly. And there's just this ongoing battle which I see often enough, the information that's given out and what is factual and what isn't. And I can only say to folks that I do have the facts. We're living it here today in America. My company has been around for several years. We have done mortgages for folks that want to bring 20% down to buy their first home or 3.5% down. We have worked with families that start with a 620 score, that they don't necessarily have a 700 score. And then we've worked with people who have 800 scores, who have perfect scores, and they just really want to be aware of what type of loan they want to do and how much they want to invest in. And we've done investment properties, we've done vacation homes. But the big part of it is it's a fascinating business to be in. It's a fascinating process. And I want people to get excited about it. I want them to have fun with the money that they've earned, with the time that they've spent. And we work hard to bring in whatever that amount is every year. So pay attention and make the most out of it and put it towards good use. Firstly, good use is towards your family. Invest in your family, not in credit cards, not in material things. Invest in the future of your kids. Invest in your retirement, and invest in your community. Give back.
Yeah.
It's very important to do that.
Well, the nice thing about talking with you, Sarah, is knowing that, if we go through a process with you, there are a lot of people who are listening right now who can go through a refinancing process and free up that money to then do what they want to do with it. And it's what you call about, having options with your money. So we're recommending our WEZE and WROL listeners, give Sarah a call, 800-662-9550. You'll reach the Mosen Mortgage Corporation, and not just that, but you'll reach Sarah, and you can talk to Sarah herself, radio personality. You can talk with her. And she's wonderful. She's so approachable and warm, and she gets it. She knows where you're coming from. You can tell her anything, full discretion, but just really good free advice. So give her the call. Make the time to do that. Take 5 minutes. Write down the questions that you have. If you're listening to the program and things are popping into your mind, write down those questions. Call on the weekend even. Sarah is around. She'll always return your call. And just ask the questions that are going to get you to a better place financially, because that's a better place mentally and emotionally. It's much more healthy. We're talking about credit cards quite a bit this week, and we talked about going into a relationship and knowing how the other person's credit score is looking and what their credit card has been like. Let's suppose that we have kind of a gray history with credit cards.
Right.
There are some people who advocate cut up all your credit cards. Right. Just use cash. If you can't use cash, it's not for you. Is that a good idea?
It's not a good idea, because the whole idea of credit cards is not about whether you have 14 or 10 or 4. It's the level of responsibility. And what it does is it gauges your level of responsibility for the lender, or for us as a company if we were to refinance you, and to see how you have performed in the last 12 months with your credit cards and with your financial obligations. So all it shows is that you have trade lines, which are credit cards, and you should at least have 3. And if you have small balances, that's great. You don't need to have 0 balances, because a little bit of activity is a good thing.
Okay, yeah.
And just know that you can repay that in 30 days and not worry about having to sort of think about paying it in 10 years. Because as you see, rates have escalated. They're 18%. Some are even 30%, because you're not necessarily able to read the fine print. Who has time?
No, yeah.
And therefore I say, you don't have time to read the small print. That's fine. Nor do I. Just know that you have the money in your bank account to pay it off in 30 days.
So it doesn't matter what the fine print says.
Right,
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, moot point to you.
And that's why I say to folks, if you're in a holding pattern and you're looking at your bills and you're trying to pay everything off but doing it with minimum payments, this is the only time I've ever seen in the history of mortgages and interest rates that you have rates at 3% or 4%, which we offer, and let us do the work and put together the numbers and show you exactly how much you're going to save. If someone told you today, and if any grocery coupon read, you can save $300,000 on your groceries today for 30 years, that would mean $300 a month. You would sign up and take that coupon in today.
Absolutely.
And that's not, I mean, our
That's
coupons,
virtually what you're offering.
that is what it is. And it's not as if, it's not a complicated process. And that's the first thing that really concerns me, is what has been put out there in the media, that it's impossible to get refinanced or financed for anything right now, and that's untrue. It
seems like you're already stymied before you start. That's what we're getting presented with, yeah.
Right, and it's untrue. It's simply not the fact. The fact is that we know the industry and we know what is possible. And in our industry right now, anything is possible if you work towards that goal. And if today you're not ready and you don't have the right score, or if you don't have enough money saved up, at least get the information to get to the next point in your life so that you can reach that goal.
Yeah.
And we can do that very easily for you. We've done it for many of our listeners, and some of them are going to be on the air in the next couple of weeks. But it's very important for people to at least know where they are and where they can actually go and reach their true potential.
Yeah. And I think it's a great time of year to be thinking about it, because not just because tax season and all that, but also because summer vacation is coming up. I know a lot of families are thinking about that. They're wondering about, are we going to send our kids to certain camps? Are we going to take a family trip? And wouldn't it be nice to have an extra $200 or $300 a month between now and then to fuel the the RV that you're going to be dragging. This is what my husband wants to do. He just has this dream where we'll all get in the RV and we'll sail off into the sunset and stop wherever we want. I cannot think of anything worse, but that's where the meeting of the minds is kind of ground to a halt.
You could fly down and they could take the RV. Let's do that.
As long as you take the dog, honey. The number to reach Sarah is 800-662-9550. For our listeners on WROL and WEZE who have been hearing the Most in Mortgage program daily and just haven't taken the time to call in, there's no reason not to do it. It's a free call. The advice is free and always good, always solid. So give Sarah a call, 800-662-9550. Ask about your credit card situation. And are there things that people should be thinking about before they make a call about refinancing? Like, what questions should they be asking before they refinance, Sarah?
I think the biggest question really is to literally look at their mortgage statement, and if you don't even have time for that, just have it at some point to give to us and know your interest rate. And that way we can tell you. Just you get your statement every month. Look at your interest rate, and I mean, if you have an idea of how many credit cards you have, if you have debt or if you have student loans, then we can very quickly let you know. And please don't go online and get a credit report. It's not going to work. It's not something that a financial institution can use. It'll only bring your score down because these are databases. They're collecting information and they're sharing that information. And you really don't need to have that type of information out there.
And how stressful if the information is actually wrong. I mean, I grew up, my maiden name is Smith, Carol Smith. Can you imagine how many Carol Smiths there? Carol Ann Smith. Can you guess how many of us there are out there?
Many.
And what if the number isn't even correct? And then, what angst it causes. So, yeah, we recommend, please, give Sarah a call, get the right information that applies just to your specific situation, especially because a lot of the advice out there is kind of blanket. So get together some numbers. Just pull out of if you've got one of those shoe boxes or a file drawer where you keep your mortgage, invoice every month and all those things, just grab a few sheets of paper, get on the phone, 800-662-9550. And when you come back and listen to us again tomorrow, Sarah's going to have a special guest, yes?
Looking forward to it. Stay well, folks.